Indeed, as a nation, we are enduring short-term sacrifices for long-term benefits. We are inspired by the bigger picture of Nigeria, where no one is left behind. Even as we go through the temporary but necessary hardship, the president is not resting on his oars. He is determined to ensure that as many relief and palliative measures as possible are rolled out for the benefit of every segment of the Nigerian population. Now, some of them are so numerous, but I think it is important that we mention them so that we don't gloss over them. Oftentimes, I'm being asked, what is the government doing to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy in this country? So I have taken time to also itemize some of them. The list is by no means exhaustive, but this is a pointer to the direction that the president is going in terms of delivering on his promises of ensuring a better and prosperous Nigeria for all of us. Number one, there is the wage award of 35,000 monthly to all federal workers, which is ongoing until the approval of the new national minimum wage is negotiated. Now, I want you to recall that in October of last year, when Labour and federal government negotiated, we talked about the new wage regime. The federal government said it was going to, I want you to go back to the speech of the president on 1st October of 2023. He said in that speech that he was going to give a wage award of 25,000 to every worker working for the federal government. In other words, any worker that is paid from the treasury of the federal government will earn a 25% wage, 25,000 wage award. I recall that Labour came back around that period and requested of the president to review this upward. And within a few hours, the president called the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Budget, and the numbers were done. And at the end of the day, a figure of 35,000 was arrived at. Now, this is a listening president. He made a broadcast. Labour came and said they wanted something higher than what was contained in the president's broadcast. And Mr. President, typical of his nature of a listening leader, succumbed to that and approved the sum of 35,000 naira as wage award. Now, what is instrumental about that is that this wage award was supposed to last only 6 months, from October of last year. But the president, because negotiation with Labour had not ended, said there should be a continuation of the payment of 35,000 wage award until a new national minimum wage is arrived at. There is also the payment of 25,000 naira conditional cash transfer to 15 million families, the poor and the most vulnerable households in this country. Of course, you are aware that this started last year, and by the early part, by the first week of January, you recall that there was a problem with the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. The ministry, the president directed that it should be suspended, and an interministerial committee was convened or instituted to review that. That exercise has been completed, and I'm happy to say that a resumption and the payment of 25,000 naira monthly, accumulating into a total sum of 75,000 naira, is already ongoing for 15 million families across the length and breadth of this country. Also recall that the federal government set aside 200 billion naira under the presidential conditional grant loan scheme, with 50 billion naira going to grants and small businesses, traders, food vendors, transport workers, ICT, businesses, creatives, artisans, etc. 75 billion naira as single-digit interest loans to medium and small-scale micro enterprises, and another 75 billion naira single-digit interest loans targeting manufacturers, big-time manufacturers. As we speak, disbursement of this has gone very far on the grants and for nano businesses. A few weeks ago, the Nigerian Education Loans Fund, called NEL Fund, officially kicked off to make available financing to millions of Nigerian students to lessen the burden of acquiring the skills and education needed to build our productive lives and careers. The president has consistently said that there is no child in this country that will suffer again as a result of the economic situation of his parent. In other words, if you are ready to go to school, your father or mother or your parent or your guardian would not in any way be in the way, meaning that whether they can afford or not, there will be money, enough money for you to go to school so that your talents can be realized. There is also the 100 billion naira compressed natural gas rollout program to deliver CNG powered vehicles for public transportation. Now, so many questions have been asked about that. Is 100 billion naira in the first instance for the purchase of CNG, the compressed natural gas driven buses, the purchase of conversion kits, and the setting up of conversion centers across the length and breadth of this country. It is the desire of government to bring down the cost of transportation by more than 50%. And the CNG, when fully operationalized, will bring down the cost of transportation by that margin. You can imagine if you are spending 20,000 naira or 15,000 naira monthly to go to work and come back, now you need only 50% of that. All these are some of the attempts that government is doing to ease the effect of fuel subsidy removal. Now, since the launch of this initiative also last year, we have seen over $50 million in private sector investment of economic rebirth. These are strengthening national security, boosting agriculture and food security, unlocking energy and natural resources, transforming infrastructure and transportation, improving education, health, and social investment, accelerated diversification through youth-driven industrialization, digitization, and innovation, and of course, improved governance for effective service delivery. These are the 8 priority areas that the president is resting his reform agenda on. Everything that the president has set out to do from the one that he assumed office is revolving around these 8 priority areas. It is therefore heartwarming to note that in the last 1 year, President Tinubu has availed himself creditably in the implementation of the goals of his renewed hope agenda, as we continue to witness incremental successes in various sectors of our economy. The president has worked very hard to stabilize the economy through the withdrawal of an unsustainable fuel subsidy regime and the unification of the foreign exchange market as pivotal steps towards redirecting funds to critical sectors such as healthcare, education, infrastructure, etc. As you all know, my bishops and archbishops, over the years, Nigeria has lost billions of dollars to an opaque and inefficient fuel subsidy regime and a distorted foreign exchange market. While these measures appear to be beneficial on the surface, in reality, they came at a considerable cost to our dear nation, which result in the neglect of critical areas essential for our nation's long-term growth and development. With implementation of a single policy on the withdrawal of fuel subsidy, we have seen a remarkable reduction in fuel importation into Nigeria by approximately 50%. Let me state here that because the presidency fuel subsidy is gone, nearly 1 billion liters of PMS that was imported into this country suddenly is no longer being imported. Now, the question that should be on our mind is, where are those 1 billion liters going before? If we can make a do with about half of those imports, it means that something was actually wrong somewhere. Now, this is a clear evidence that the subsidy on fuel consumption was not only depriving the nation of vital resources needed for our development, but also inadvertently subsidizing fuel consumption across the entire West African sub-region. Now, in implementing these fundamental reforms, we are not unmindful of the touching reality of pain and discomfort that have been witnessed by Nigerians. Let me say that these are inevitable and they are also very deeply felt by government, especially the president himself, and for all businesses, by all businesses across the country. President Tinubu never shied away from acknowledging the reality of these pains. In his Democracy Day celebration delivered to the nation early this morning, I don't know how many of you listened to the president this morning, but the president summed it up aptly, and I'm quoting the president now. The reforms we have initiated are intended to create a stronger, better foundation for future growth. There is no doubt the reforms have occasioned hardship, yet there are necessary repairs required to fix the economy over the long run, so that everyone has access to economic opportunity, fair play, and compensation for his endeavor and his labor.